So our current project aims to equip progressive activists, campaigners, researchers, advocates, all of those who are involved in public advocacy work and this sort of public communications work to be more emotionally smart and to be more proactive in the debate.
What many more progressive activists have been trying to do is argue so-called facts and rights only approaches and have been meeting some very angry responses and has really not been effective. It works maybe in the policy arena, but in the public debate in the last while, it really hasn't worked so well.
People who we really need in the debate right now are actually staying out of the debate. So for us, it's about helping people to build the skills and the knowledge, but also the courage to stay involved in the debate.
Simply put, this is an idea of reframing the debate, of putting forward positive stories, leading with solutions to try and reopen a debate that has been somewhat captured by a populist narrative in the last while.
A major lesson from this reframing approach is who we can target with such strategic communications campaigns and how we can move beyond the base. So an important lesson is not to lump everybody who doesn't agree with us together and write them off.
It's ultimately about messaging in a more, let's put it simply, a kind of conservative zone than a lot of people are used to. So you have to also not just find a narrative space that works, you also have to find one that you can live with. We will always need human rights defenders. We will always need people who are strong on that side. But we also need a group of people who are more willing to actually reach out to these audiences. If the public debate becomes dominated by stories of fear, exclusion, invasion, then the policy options that are acceptable for politicians to put forward become wrapped up in those stories. So we make much less of a space for stories of inclusion and diversity.
We think about the images that are in the media around this issue. There's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of fear buttons being pushed, and this is very hard to respond to.
In general, we have tended to focus much more on attacking opponents rather than looking at that middle group in society. And in fact, we have tended to sort of group them all together in some amorphous sort of not our friends kind of narrative. And actually what we need to do is understand them a lot better, see in fact that the campaigning that a lot of people do from a more urban metropolitan perspective, you know, what it does well is it motivates that base, but what it needs to do a lot better is to inform and engage those elements of society that I suppose are not that motivated or not that informed. It's not their day to day.
There is a real opportunity actually for, you know, a lot of the positive lessons and stories and experience, certainly in the German context that we're most familiar with, of very quite successful integration of a lot of migrants in Germany, to feed those stories into the public debate.
It's a kind of a two-stage program here, one of initial capacity building, experimenting, secondly of trying to build sort of champions for this kind of approach in Germany, and then over time really try to plug this thinking into the social movements, but also another element is to try to work with integration officers at the city level who are also seem to be struggling in this area.
We try to, in our work, well, first of all, if we have the workshop that we just had, for example, it's about creating a supportive and safe environment for people to collectively generate some new narratives and to test them before being unleashed on the public, let's say. So to build up a community of reframing practitioners in Germany, that's our ultimate goal. We're very lucky to be able to bring to the German context a lot of international experience in this area of emotionally smart communication on the issue of migration and this type of reframing approach, especially from the States, where people have been working on this more strategic communications and reframing work for about 30 years. There's also been, 5 or 6 year process in the UK of implementing this.
We're not assuming that can be directly applied in the German context, so it's much more a question here of trying to build a foundation, build a network, build some, culturally resonant messaging, and ultimately in the end, find a group of people who can really kind of make this happen.
And then when we have some more hands-on experience and success stories from Germany to feed them into the more European network as well.